start attacking the enemy. If he's too far from you, he starts chucking rocks at you, which can do a lot of damage, but when you're up close, he'll just try to kick you, which pretty much does nothing. So get the guy close to the edge, and you'll end up sliding on him down like a snowboard, making it over the large gap to complete the level, and easily the coolest part of the entire game. Now here is the beginning of level 4, and this stage we're actually be going into the cave, which, like I mentioned earlier, you gotta watch out for these falling spikes from the top of the ceiling here. They are pretty easy to spot, thankfully, but it's just an annoyance. You can either run all the way through them if you like. You'll take a decent amount of damage throughout it, but probably nothing that'll actually kill you. Or, when you see one, you can back away for it for a second, and then continue going through it. Thankfully, when you make a jump, you actually can back up from the jump, in case you're trying to go over a gap and there's a spike falling down, you'll be able to get back to the previous platform you were on. Also, while continuing through, watch out for the bats and some of the little tiny rolling rocks that are going to come after you. When you make it to the top of this section, we have a small cutscene before the next section begins. So this begins the third part of this level. You have to go through the rest of this cave, and then we'll have to fight a boss at the end of it, but just like the other bosses, it's really easy to take them out with just using your fist. Make it over the gap of spikes, and here's our boss here. Stand on the slope, and just keep punching him in the legs area. Takes only a few seconds, and then he'll drop off the screen, and we completed this level. So now begins level 5 here, which we have to watch out for logs that are falling down waterfalls. Thankfully, they're not too bad to make it over these gaps. Watch out for most of the enemies, just jumping over them will easily get past them. This part of the level really contains nothing that we haven't seen already before, so just be careful while making it over certain jumps so you don't accidentally miss a platform and end up falling into the water. Be sure to pick up any supplies if you do need them while going through the level, but thankfully at this point we have a good amount of the supplies we actually need, which the only thing we really need is the gun. Once we are up this part, just have a couple more jumps and a few more enemies to complete this part of the stage. Once this level begins, jump to the left to grab the climbing gloves, and then you'll actually be able to slowly start climbing up the waterfall. Watch out for the rocks that are falling down, but for the most part they shouldn't be able to hit you. They're pretty easy to dodge around. Be sure to grab the briefcase while climbing up, and then just keep avoiding the rocks, and thankfully though, it's not too long of a level. Once you reach the top, you're actually able to jump on top of the waterfall, head over to the right, and you actually completed the 5th level. And so begins the 6th and final level of Cliffhanger for the NES. No new enemies to really contend with while going through the actual level, but when we reach the end we actually have to fight a helicopter and we have to use our gun on it. So make sure that you at least have the gun, and be sure to equip it once we reach the end. Grab the last of the briefcases, so now we've grabbed all 3. Thankfully they place a gun right at the end to make sure that you have it. And then begins the helicopter battle. Just point the gun up and deliver a couple of shots every time it passes over you. If you want, sometimes you'll be able to run to the far right or far left to catch it just as it's going off screen. But usually, just shoot it a couple times when it first appears, and then slowly follow it as it goes through. Watch out for the weapons. Thankfully, it only takes a few shots. Be careful, though, not to be under it when it reaches the far right side, or you may get hit when it crashes. And then immediately after that begins the final battle of the game. jump over our enemy here, and then start climbing up the ladder all the way to the top. He's gonna follow you up here, but just keep climbing all the way to the top. Once you're at the top, go to the right here and wait for him to follow you up here. Go over as far as you want to. When he starts coming towards you, get him near the edge and then jump over him, run away a little bit, and then turn around and start firing at him. Just keep firing at him until he ends up falling off the cliff to complete the game. So we see the three main characters from the film standing there in silhouette form as the sun is in the air. We see our game completed, our final score at the bottom, and then the end. After a few seconds of the end, it actually ends up going into the credits. As you can see, this is just another one of the cash-in titles that Sony ImageSoft did. They put it together really quick just to make sure it was out there in time for the release of the film. Make sure you get people to buy it because they're excited, they want to see the movie, and then they're like, oh, I want to buy the NES game. For the most part, Sony ImageSoft really didn't put too much effort into some of these movie games that came out late in the NES run, and it shows. This one's not nearly as terrible as some of the other ones, thankfully, but it's really nothing to write home about either. It's nothing really exciting, nothing that we haven't seen before, and the graphics are really, really bad. There are some good things, though. It's pretty short. It follows the movie relatively well, and the music is actually pretty enjoyable to listen to. Once we get back to our actual Sony ImageSoft logo and the game restarts, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoy it.